always to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be
Hello and welcome to the new and improved Beginner Pilates series for 2023. My name's Margaret. I'm a certified Pilates instructor and I'm going to be moving you through this series. In today's class, it's going to be a little bit less of a class, a little bit more of a tutorial. We're talking about different Pilates props and how they can be used to help us modify in Pilates exercises and to help us feel supported in Pilates exercises. This week, we've been using our hand towel a little bit and we've seen how that can help us a little bit. I've touched on how the hand towel can be an extension of our arms. It can allow us to reach up a little bit higher, and I'm going to show you a couple of exercises with this, and you can always have this handy. A hand towel is always going to be a good choice to have. The two other props I have out right now are a small Pilates ball and resistance bands, and I'm going to show you some exercises with all of these props just to show you how it can help support you in your Pilates practice, and these props can help to meet you where you are at. Mat Pilates in itself can be very difficult because some of the exercises they require total body strength, right? So when we can use a prop to help us do an exercise a little bit better, it will make mat Pilates come a little bit easier to you. So props are your friend. Don't hesitate to use them. All of these props that I have with me right now are very inexpensive, and I will leave links to them down in the description of this video. The first thing that we're going to start off talking about is this hand towel, and we've been using it all throughout classes this week, so you've seen how it can be used, but I'm going to show you a couple of examples. The first one that I like that we did a little bit this week. If you fold up your towel, just like this, just like that. You can place it right about behind the tailbone, and then you get a little bit of support as you do things like rollbacks, right? So right about here, we get that support on the tailbone, and then we can roll right back up. We roll it back, we get a little bit of support, a little bit of lift away from the mat, and then we roll it back up. Same thing if you were to roll all the way down to your mat. That towel helps you, it gives you a little bit of a lift away from the mat, and then you can roll all the way back up. That's how the towel works like that. I also like it if you're somebody that feels like you are very inflexible through the hamstrings, if you have a tough time trying to touch your toes. A towel is also good if you're trying to get a nice hamstring stretch. So if you take the towel into your hands, you can inhale, reach the arms up, and then hinge forward into your hips. See if you can hook that towel around the feet, gentle pull back. That way you can get an assist in your hamstring stretch. You can also do this single leg. If you need a little bit more leverage, you can just pull back on that one side. And then the same thing applies if you were doing an exercise like that, laying all the way down. You can hook the towel around the foot and reach up from here. We do these in Pilates classes, and you'll see these exercises come into play as we continue to move through this series. But you can use the towel as an extension of your arm, crossing one way, and then opening up the other way. That's always a really nice one. This is an exercise that I often do with the Pilates ring, but if you don't have a ring at home, the towel is a really good substitution. And you can do the same thing on the other side, crossing over one way, and then coming back through center. We also saw a little bit earlier this week when we were talking about neck and head positioning that we can use the towel as an assist when we're coming up into our ab curl, or our, what is the word I'm looking for? Ab curl, I forget. So you can take the towel behind the head, open up through the elbows, and use the towel to support your head as you curl up through head, neck, and shoulder. Cervical nod, that's the name I'm looking for. And then you can lower it back down. The towel, again, it's just really nice to always have around. And those are a couple examples of how we can use that. We also talked about being able to use the towel as support for our wrists in tabletop exercises and plank exercises. So always really useful to have a towel around, and it's definitely one that I'm sure you have at home. The next prop that we're going to talk about is a small Pilates ball. Now this ball I got from Target, but I will link one down in the description of this video so you can, get one for yourself and see. They're like $8 or $9 $10. They're not expensive at all. I like to use the ball when we come down into our spinal flexion exercises. So I'll show you what that looks like. We've done this a little bit so far in the series, but if you curve your spine back and then place the ball right about here, you get some nice support and some nice feedback through your back as you go back into your C curve. And you can actually come up into that C curve a little bit more. You may be able to reach the hands away from your legs. And from here, you're able to support yourself a little bit longer and do exercises like this, where we get to lift the arm and lower the leg and lower. And this is always a really nice spot to be. Having the ball support right here makes exercises like this more manageable. And you can also sub this out for exercises where we're coming up into that ab curl or cervical nod. You can take it right here because you're still in spinal flexion. We just have a little bit more support. Now the ball can be put in a lot of different places. You can do those same kind of ab exercises with the ball more at the upper back. And this again will replicate what we do in our ab curl, curling up through head, neck, and shoulders. All of the same exercises can be done here, lifting the legs to tabletop and tapping down, lifting and tapping. This is always really nice. And you can use the ball as a support prop or as a modification in any class that we do. If you find that you try the ball and you really like it, it's great and I love it too. The ball is also really good for breathing exercises and helping you to connect to your core. So if you take the ball, say between the inner thighs and you lay all the way down, you find your neutral spine, hips and rib cage in line. If you take a big exhale, you do a slow squeeze onto the ball like this. And then you can inhale, release that pressure on the ball. So the ball can be a supportive prop, but also a really helpful teaching tool for us to be able to connect into the inner thigh and into our midline or our center line of the body. In Pilates, we really focus on trying to draw everything inward towards our center, and the ball can help to make that connection. It's also really nice if you feel like you have a difficult time connecting to your core. The ball is, I think, one of the most amazing props. And one other thing I like to do with the ball, one more thing while we're right here. Like, I can't make up my mind. I love the ball. If you're somebody that you feel like you have a hard time keeping your knees in line with your hips, or if you notice that your knees start to knock in towards each other, the ball is a good tool to use so that you can really get your hips and your knees in line and you can keep things in parallel. So it's also kind of a form corrector. It's one that I like to use with my in-person clients. They don't really like it that much because it's kind of mean. It forces them into a position that, can be difficult to hold, but it is a prop that can give you that feedback. One more way I like to use the ball, actually it's going to be two. If you're on your side and we're doing like side lying lifts, we use the towel as a little bit of a pillow the other day, but you can use a Pilates ball as a pillow as well and take exercises like that leg lift that we did the other day, or the knobby knees exercise that we did. Ball works great right there. Press up off of your side. We also came into this position. The ball can be a nice prop to have right here under our body to remind us to lift up and away from the mat. A good support right there. Those are the places that I like to use the ball. So if you're thinking about getting some Pilates props, I would probably get a ball first. Now, the next thing with the resistance bands kind of act in a similar way as the hand or kitchen towel would. So I'll show you again how I would use a band as a prop. You think of it as an extension of your arms. So if we do that same stretch exercise that we did before, you can loop a band around your foot, grab onto the band with the opposite hand. We get a little bit more leeway with this because the band stretches as you reach over and then it opens back up. Same thing applies if you were trying to do a hamstring stretch like I showed you guys seated. You can hold onto the band and loop it around the foot and then hinge at the hips, bend into the elbows. For a lot of people, being able to touch the toes is just not possible, and that's okay. So there are things that can help us and act as extenders of the arms. You can use any or all of these props anytime that you want to, anytime you feel like you need to. If you the hand towel again is gonna be probably the most accessible for all of us, but if you feel like you wanna get a Pilates ball, it's always a good prop to have on hand, and you may find that you like some exercises better with the Pilates ball when you have that support underneath you. Hopefully this video was helpful to see how different props can be used to support us in our Pilates practice and to help us build up some strength. Hopefully maybe you found a prop that you wanna try out and start using in these classes. Remember, you're awesome. You can do anything you put your mind to, and I will see you back here for our next video.
Follow the light, you're able to be happy.